I hope you all are fine at your home. Today we are learning class 9 science biology. In that we are learning chapter 6 tissues. Already as I told you that tissues are of two types, plant tissue and animal tissue. Today we are learning we have already completed the plant tissue. In plant tissue, further we are going to learn today a very important topic, that is protective tissue. Protective tissue. You all know the meaning of protection, right? That how a body can protect it. But we have to learn that how plant body protect itself. So we are learning. So let's begin the protective tissue.
Already we had completed that plant tissue is mainly classified on two types, that is meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. Meristematic tissue is further classified as apical meristematic tissue, lateral meristematic tissue and intercalary meristematic tissue. The second part is permanent tissue. Permanent tissue is further classified into simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. We had completed the simple permanent tissue, that is parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Now, before going to complex permanent tissue, we have to learn about the protective tissue. Okay, so let's begin. First of all, what is protective tissue in plants? Okay, in comparison to animals, for example with humans, you all know that you may have heard sometimes or some point that your skin is the largest organ in your body. Besides being large, your skin is very important. Why it is important? Because it protects everything underneath it from diseases, temperature and other physical damage that may occur. But do you know how do plants protect their internal parts from damage and diseases? For example, we have skin. So our skin protects our body from different diseases. It stops, it inhibits the microorganisms to enter inside our body. But do you ever think that how plants protect their internal parts from damage and diseases? Okay, so like humans, plants also have different protective layers at different parts of the plant, such as roots, stems, leaves. All the parts of the plants have different protective layers. These protective layers protect the plants from diseases and damage. Okay, so we are first starting with the aerial part of the plant. What are the aerial part of the plant? The part which are present above the ground, which, for example, stem and leaves. So first we will talk that which kind of protective tissue or which kind of protective layer is present into the stem of the plant and leaf of the plant, which protects the particular plant from diseases and damages. Okay, so one thing should be clear over here, that the protective layer which is present in plant, it is called as epidermis. It is called as epidermis. Remember, the protective layer present in plant is called as epidermis. Okay, so now we will look into detail about the epidermis. What is epidermis? Epi means up and derma means skin. It means upper skin. But all the parts of the plant do not have same epidermal layer. That, as we had now discussed, that stem of the plant and leaves of the plant have epidermal layer, they have protective layer, but it is not necessary that same kind of epidermal layer is present. For example, we have same kind of skin on our body, that is on the hand, on the face, yes, but plant do not have same kind of epidermal layer. Epidermis is modified on the basis of plant's need and habitat. Epidermal layer is modified or converted on the basis of plant's need and habitat. One important function of the plant we all know. What is that important function? That important function is that plant loses some amount of water into the atmosphere, and that process is called as transpiration. This process we are very well knowing that what is transpiration, that plant loses some amount of water into the atmosphere and by the process of transpiration. But if we compare a normal plant with a desert plant, if we compare a normal plant with a desert plant, that which is the basic necessity of the desert plant? Yes, means desert plants lose very little amount of water. Yes, is it? Yes. If we compare a normal plant with the desert plant lose a very little amount of water because they are already in dry habitat. So they have to conserve their water. They need the water. So here first we'll talk about that which kind of protective tissue in desert plants. Okay, so in desert plants, as we are talk about the cactus or any other desert plant, the very important thing is they have to store the water. Yes, they always try to store water inside them. So which kind of protective tissue is present? So in such type of plants, epidermis is very formed a very thick layer in order to prevent excessive amount of water. Getting? Dear student, as desert plants have dry habitat, they have to store water inside it. So what they will try? They will try that during the process of transpiration, very less amount of water will be removed from their body. So due to how they can prevent the water, so they have thick epidermal layer around their stem and leaves, which prevents the water loss during the process of transpiration. The plants in desert have thick waxy chemical which is called as cutin, in epidermal cells, which prevents loss of water. Getting? Dear student, which kind of protective tissue is present in desert plants? In desert plants have thick waxy chemical covering, and that chemical covering is called as what? Cutin. What cutin will do? It will prevent the loss of water during the transpiration or during the daytime. Okay, so this is all about the protective tissue in desert plants. Now we will moving up to the terrestrial plants, or we can say a normal plants. Okay. In terrestrial plants, if we talk about the aerial parts, as I already told you that aerial parts which are present above the ground, that is stem and leaves. Now in aerial parts of the plants, that is stem and leaves, have epidermal cells. They have present epidermal cells on the stem also and on the leaf also. What these epidermal cells will do? These epidermal cells are specialized in different waxy secretions. Means leaf and stem epidermal cells are themselves secreting some secretions. Now what is the function of these secretions? Let's see that this waxy secretion protects the plants from various ways. The waxy secretions secreted by the leaf and stem protect the plant from various ways. Now how this waxy secretion protects the plants? Let's see. The very first is they protect the plant from parasites. Parasites, all know that the microorganisms, that the bacteria and fungus. Okay, so first important function of this waxy secretion secreted by the leaf and stem, that they protect plant from parasites. Okay, second thing is they protect the plant from mechanical injuries. What do you mean by mechanical injuries? The physical injuries done by the heavy rain or heavy wind or any other physical activity. So these epidermal cells secreting a waxy secretions, which also helps the plant during mechanical injuries. And the next is they also help the plant to loss of excessive water in high temperature. During high temperature, when due to the process of transpiration more amount of water is evaporated into the atmosphere, this waxy secretions does not allow to loss of excessive amount of water into the atmosphere. So first we had seen about the protective tissue in desert plant. Now in terrestrial plants, remember dear student that stem and leaf of the plant have waxy secretions. These waxy secretions helps the plant to protect from parasites, helps the plant during mechanical injuries, and also helps to prevent loss of excessive water into the atmosphere during high temperature. Okay, now in terrestrial plants we had talked about the aerial parts, that is leaf and stem. Now we will talk about the roots, that which kind of protective tissue is present in roots of the plant. So let's take a look on roots of the plant. In roots, what happen? Generally, roots are below the ground, so they do not have to lose the water into the atmosphere. Yes, but they have to absorb the water. So actually roots do not have to lose the water. So root do not contain waxy coating. Roots do not have to lose water, therefore roots do not contain waxy coating, but epidermal cells are modified into hair-like structures. Epidermal cells of the roots are modified into hair-like structures. You can see here. Now, what is the function of these hair-like structures? These hair-like structures are increases the surface area for water absorption, as the main function of the root is to absorb the water from the ground. So what is the protective tissue present over here? That the epidermal cells are converted into hair-like structures, and these hair-like structures increases the surface area for water absorption. As the surface area increases, more amount of water can be absorbed by the plant. So in clear, dear students, that in terrestrial plant cutin is present, a chemical, and in terrestrial plants in leaf and stem waxy secretions are present, and in roots root hairs are present. Okay, now let's talk about this kind of structure epidermal cells have. So, as they are protective cells, they do not possess intercellular spaces. Means between two cells there is no space present. Okay, so this is the image of an epidermal cell. Let's take a look the property that cells are flat in appearance in comparison of other cells. Yes, you can see over here that cells are flat in comparison to other cells. In appearance, cells are very much flat. Second thing is no intercellular space is present. As I already told you that as they are the protective cells, they do not possess intercellular space. Means between two cells there is no space. And the next is in comparison to other cell, they have very thick cell wall. These epidermal cells have very thick cell wall because they are the outermost covering layer also, so they have to protect the plant also from different ways, and due to the process of protection their cell wall is very much thick. Okay, now one question might be comes into your mind that if the plant body is covered with epidermal layer from roots. Roots also has epidermal layer, stem also has epidermal layer, leaves also has epidermal layer. So from where this gaseous exchange and removal of water occurs? That very first we discussed that plants are removing some amount of water during transpiration, but as we had now learned that whole plant body is covered with the epidermal layer, so from where this exchange of gases and the removal of water occur? So for this purpose, epidermis leaves some time in the structure which are commonly known as stomata. What is the function, what is the characteristic a plant have? The For the purpose to remove the remove the water from plant body, epidermis leaves some pores, some holes in the structure which are commonly known as stomata. These stomata are mainly present on the leaves. Okay, what are stomata? Stomata are the small opening present in leaves of the plant. If we look into the structure of the stomata, stomata are covered by the kidney shaped guard cells. You can see here these two cells. These two cells has a shape of kidney shaped, and these cells are called as guard cells. What is the function of the stomata? Stomata regulates exchange of gases and also the water vapor from it. What do you mean by gaseous exchange? As we know that the plants are doing the process of photosynthesis, and during photosynthesis they need carbon dioxide, and after completion of photosynthesis they remove oxygen. So taking in carbon dioxide and taking out oxygen, it done by where? Through the stomata. Also the excess amount of water which is removed by the plant during the process of transpiration, it is also done by the stomata. Okay, so dear students, you are clear with that? Okay, now already we had talked about the roots and leaves of the plant. Now let's talk about the plant. Do you think that stems also contain same epidermal layer as roots and leaves have? Actually not. Generally what happen in big trees, epidermal changes or epidermal layer is converted into secondary meristem. Already we had learned that is cambium, which is also called as cambium. This forms the several layer of thick cork or bark of the tree. In stem, as stem cells are growing and they are making the thick layers, these thick layers are called as cork or bark of a tree. Now cells of these layers are generally dead, they are not living cells. Cells of these layers are dead and compactly arranged without any intercellular spaces. Now the question is that if these cells are dead and compactly arranged, so from where the gaseous exchange and removal of water occur from the stem? So for this purpose, bark of a tree has a chemical which is called as suberin. Bark of a tree has a chemical which is called as suberin. And what is the function of this suberin? That suberin helps in gaseous exchange and water loss from the stem or bark of the plant. Clear dear students, that bark of a tree has chemical. What is the name of that chemical? That name of the chemical is suberin, and suberin helps in gaseous exchange and water loss from the stem or bark of the plant. So in this video we had completed the desert plant protective tissue, which is cutin. Then we had seen in terrestrial plants leaf and stem, that leaf and stem has waxy secretions. Then we had seen the roots, that roots have roots hair. And we had learned about the stomata, the small opening of the plant from which the gaseous exchange occurs and removal of water occur. And the last one in stem of the plant, that they are converted into the dead thick layers which is called called as cork or bark of the tree, and this bark of the tree has the chemical called suberin, which this chemical helps the gaseous exchange and removal of water from the stem of the plant. So in our next video we will learn about the complex tissue.